Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Tagai. Well, the Liberal Party has put out their cost platform, and it is not looking good. Now, of course, people who watch my channel already know how corrupt this guy is, and he's a banker, so he wants high interest rates. He wants huge debt. This makes him and all of the Brookfield management and assets divisions incredibly wealthy off of the taxpayers, which we're already seeing. Let's just take a listen to his accosted platform to see how insane this is going to be.
We begin with CTV's Jeremy Sharon and the Liberal Party's plan.
Flanked by a crowd of supporters and candidates, Liberal leader Mark Carney unveiled his party's plan for Canada today.
To unite, to secure, to protect and build Canada.
Those four themes define the party's platform, one that is clearly centered around challenges the country faces in a changing global landscape and Donald Trump's trade war.
They're offering voters a lot of goodies based on borrowed money.
The price tag, $130 billion in new spending over 4 years and an increased deficit up to $62.3 billion this fiscal year. That's 1.96% of Canada's GDP, dropping year by year to $47.8 billion or 1.35% of GDP by the end of 2028.
Now, shouldn't Chrystia Freeland be leaving her party, considering she refused to lay out what the debt was when she was finance minister? And now she's cheering this debt on. The hypocrisy is thick. These people are liars. They are trying to buy votes once again, just like Trudeau has done. And the media they're being polite. They're being incredibly polite. And don't worry, this will all get buried in the next day or two because they're going to try and roll it over, bury it, and start pumping up Liberals like they always do.
Can we afford all of this, given we're already in a fiscal position that's vulnerable and it's going to get even more vulnerable? I don't think we can.
The pitch, Ottawa spending more on capital investments, which Carney says would create big returns for Canadians and drive investment from the private sector.
Our plan over the next 5 years will create $500 billion in economic value.
The platform.
You couldn't slap that smile off Anita and Ann's face with the frozen fish. You notice all of those MPs are the same MPs that were there the last 10 years when they spent more money than all the other prime ministers combined. Unbelievable that anybody in their right mind would vote for this party.
Platform also plans to cut operational spending.
We will balance our operating budget over the next 3 years by cutting waste, by eliminating duplication, and by deploying technology.
Defense spending is one of the big ticket items with a price tag of $18 billion, which Liberals say puts them on track to exceed the NATO target by 2030.
By 2030.
But Mark Carney has already indicated they may need to spend more.
Looking at the needs, both to secure Canada first, but also our international obligations, it is possible, David, that we will need to do more.
Also outlined in the platform, promises already made during the campaign, including a costly middle-class tax cut, changes to boost internal trade and reduce barriers, making Canada more energy independent, a pledge to build more homes faster, and a plan to invest billions in the healthcare system.
Now, the Liberals estimate they'll generate $20 billion in revenue through Canada's tariff response and expect to save $28 billion through increased government productivity, which some experts call ambitious. Heather?
Jeremy Sharon in Ottawa.
Yeah, you notice he says some experts. These are Liberals. These are Liberal experts. They are literally trying to bankrupt us. I don't know how else to explain it. And the kicker is what we know. Here's what we now know.
You know, the Liberal platform, frankly, that's something I will say that has been ready for several weeks now. Mona Fortier was the one who was working on this, and it was ready before Mark Carney even became Liberal leader. So,
did you hear that? This is Trudeau 2.0. Why would Carney need to even change any of the spending they were going to do when he's been advising this government for 5 years and been behind the scenes since pretty much the beginning? Listen again.
You know, the Liberal platform, frankly, that's something I will say that has been ready for several weeks now. Mona Fortier was the one who was working on this, and it was ready before Mark Carney even became Liberal leader. So, you know, he only had to tweak a couple of things. You know, the Liberal...
Trudeau 2.0. We went from the captain with an IQ of 86, the turd, to the general, the guy who's been pointing out all of this spending. This is not for Canadians. This is for Brookfield and rich investors. This is the Canadian debt clock, thanks to the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. The last time I had this on my show, I believe it was sitting around $29,700, which was only a month ago. Look at how much it's climbed already. Yes, that $30,000 is each Canadian's share, not family household. Every single Canadian's share. Yes, you have a child, that is the debt they are born with. The only reason it's as low as it is right now is because they flooded us with immigration, which dropped the number because there's more people per capita. These guys spent more money in their tenure than all prime ministers put together. Think about that. And now Carney is looking to add another minimum $250 billion of debt on there at a minimum without paying any interest. Our growth of debt per day, per 24 hours, is $109 million per day. He's going to crush us, people. Absolutely crush us. This is what we have right now. Can you imagine if we have more debt?
This location used to send out 60,000 or so, or feed 60,000 client visits every single month. That number last month was 330,000. The numbers are startling, but, you know, that's hard to put in context. The thing that drives me nuts is we will work with individuals who, you know, have full-time employment. They've got an apartment. Maybe they have a child, and they still have to come to a food bank despite working and doing everything right.
This is Canada. Since they've taken office, there has been the largest separation in wealth in Canadian history. The middle class has all but been wiped out.
A new Stats Can report revealing that the gap between the rich and the poor has widened at the fastest pace on record. What can you tell us?
Yes, this is the latest report talking about wealth distribution within this country. The richest families in this, the wealthiest, which account for about 20% of the wealth, they own about 67% of the assets in this country. Meanwhile,
67%. They own 67%.
While the least wealthiest own about 2.7%.
Wow.
Welcome to liberalism. This is the new post-national Liberal Party. This is not the party of 20 years ago. They have jumped right over the socialist NDP and are trying to drag us down to fascism. What did Carney do when he was the Bank of Governor of the EU? This is how he's left them. This is absolutely ridiculous.
We seem to have regressed 150 years to a Dickensian era of diseases, as new NHS data discovered by LBC show malnutrition, rickets and scurvy soaring during Rishi Sunak's premiership. Figures obtained from 84 NHS trusts show tens of thousands of diagnoses of malnutrition, rickets and scurvy, and the true figure may be 3 times higher than previous estimates as they encompass secondary diagnoses. Here's Kirsten.
It is out of control in the EU.
Professor Marmot, this really has been your life's work, tracking the connection between poverty, malnutrition and bad health outcomes. How did you feel emotionally when you saw this particular report?
It's deeply, deeply depressing. It's grim in the extreme. You remember when the Beveridge report came out during World War II, it was a bestseller. Beveridge identified what he called 5 giants on the road to reconstruction.
And Beveridge is a guy's name, not a drink report, just so you know.
Want, squalor, idleness, ignorance, and sickness. Now, I think of...
Now, did you hear that? I'm going to play that back one more time.
The road to reconstruction. Want, squalor, idleness, ignorance, and sickness. Now,
that's Canada today.
Think of 4 of those Beveridge giants, the first 4, as contributing to the 5th. And the first one, want, simply not enough money to meet those basics. And the idea that in 2024, that's where we are. And my way of thinking about it now, looking at the figures, essentially, Britain has become a poor country with a few rich people. And at the very poor end of the distribution, it's worse to be poor in Britain than in most other European countries. Poor people in Britain have a lower income than Slovenia. It really is bad to be poor in Britain. And it's a soluble problem. A soluble problem.
Now, the UK rates just below the Mississippi, which is the poorest state in the United States of America. Canada is just above Mississippi. And below, yes, West Virginia. That's why we have stuff like this now happening in Canada.
As you might have thought was lost to history, scurvy was a fear for sailors in the 18th century. But after a Canadian woman was diagnosed last year, there are concerns about a comeback. CTV's Kathy Lee is on this story. And Kathy, what do we know about the patient in this case?
Sandy, the study outlines the case of a 65-year-old woman who was treated at an emergency department in Toronto after experiencing progressive leg weakness and poor mobility over a period of 8 days. She was diagnosed with scurvy, which is the result of an extreme vitamin C deficiency. Humans can't make vitamin C, which means it needs to be ingested through fruits like oranges, veggies like spinach and broccoli, or supplements. When there's inadequate intake of vitamin C for a long time, symptoms are fatigue, bleeding gums, easy bruising, and red hair follicles, and worst case scenario, death. The main author of the report says while there are cases of scurvy in Canada, it's not prevalent, but the research is a wake-up call for physicians to be on the lookout for cases.
physicians need to be thinking about vitamin C deficiency on the list of possibilities in order to make that diagnosis. So it's something that's still relevant today, that we still come across today.
The study links the case of scurvy to growing food insecurity in Canada. When people struggle to afford groceries, either skip meals or buy less nutritional items. The woman in the study was socially isolated with little family support and mobility, and mainly ate canned and processed food with little vitamins. A Stats Can report shows in 2023, food insecurity was 22.9%, up from 18.4% the year before.
With higher food prices, people have decided to leave the periphery of the store where you find fresh produce, when you find a lot of vitamins and minerals, and people will go to the center of the store to find anything to eat, any calories really.
The study also suggests that doctors should consider patients at higher risk for vitamin C deficiency, including children, smokers, or those who have substance use disorder, malabsorption.
26 cases in Saskatchewan. 14 cases in Alberta. They can't even regulate how many in northern BC, northern Ontario. This is an epidemic. It's all across Canada. And the people that are hit the most are those in remote areas, because fruits and vegetables cost that much more. And Carney put tariffs on oranges and other foods from the United States, making it even more unbearable, harder to buy. 25% tariffs. This is the new liberalism. Canada's already suffering, and this guy's going to go and blow more money we don't have. Liz Truss said it on my previous episode. We're going to be just like Britain. If we don't pull the reins in and stop this reckless spending, we're the next domino to fall. And in the meantime, you've got Trump down in the States, who's literally completely changing the economy and boosting up the Americans. This is just the truth. Listen very carefully.
Donald Trump does more press media interviews than any president in the history of the United States. Pierre Poilievre is not talking to media. He's at his best in those clips where he rips apart dumb journalists. I don't know what's going to come in Canada, but I actually think Donald Trump now, what started off as a lark, I think he just thought Trudeau was weak, and Trudeau was taking shots at him after he won the election. And so he said, hey, you're just the governor of a small state. We can do whatever. And then when he saw the overreaction, Trump just doesn't back down from a fight. And I believe that he thinks that having the Liberal Mark Carney win will lead to a quicker destruction of Canada so that it's easier to pick up the pieces. That's why I think he's endorsing Mark Carney, because nothing about Canada right now is merit-based. Nothing about Canada is about doing hard things. Our military is an absolute joke. Our criminal defense system, even though I work in it, isn't dealing with crime. Our cities are completely falling apart. We're spending more money. We probably are wasting proportionately more money than the U.S. We're all paying 50% or more when you add up all of the taxes. Like, why would any entrepreneur come here? Trump is actually instituting policies, if people pay attention, that will make the U.S. 10 times stronger. He's making people proud to be part of something that's specific. It's not saying just come over here and shit on my country. Just like there's been a festival of just shitting on the best countries in the world by people who haven't made anything great in their own countries.
Which is what's going on here in Canada. So this is Gordon Campbell. Listen to what he has to say.
You of course know, though, that the Liberal government was the government that bought a pipeline.
Yeah, I know they were the government that bought a pipeline, and I know they're also a government that stopped a pipeline after it had gone through all the process and was ready for approval.
Right.
So when we're told that, we're worried about our economy, I can tell you one of the things that undermines every economy is uncertainty.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't say one thing in one part of the country and another thing in another part of the country. You have to be clear. If this is a national emergency, we are going to build pipelines. They're going to reach the Asian markets. They're going to reach the European markets. It makes no sense for us to bring outside energy into Canada when we are so rich in energy resources as we are. So I think that's a really important issue for all of us.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for all Canadians. Canadians can't even get, Ontario and Quebec can't get their energy right now without it going through the United States.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
We have been talking through this election a little bit about Western alienation, Gordon Campbell, and I wonder if that's something you are also feeling in BC, that is a real issue, potentially, if the Liberals win in particular.
I think it's an issue that we have to start talking as one country. I said that back in 2007. When are we going to decide we are one Canada? That's where we get our strength. When we did so well in the Olympics, we didn't say, well, this person's from Saskatchewan, so it doesn't count as much, or this person's from Newfoundland and Labrador. We took all of the talents we had in Canada, we brought them together in an international competition. That's what trade is about. We have the tools we need, not just to be independent of the United States, but to reach out to other jurisdictions and to build on our strengths. I'm not saying that's easy. I'm saying it can be done. And, honestly, Rosemary, if it's a national emergency, which is what we've been told now, time and time again, Mr. Trump made his decision on February 1st. We still have interprovincial trade barriers. Take them down. Should have been done long, long ago. It would add $200 billion to Canada's economy. And more important than that, it starts thinking about the next generation of Canadians. We should not think of the next generation of Canadians as the people that will pay all of our debts for all of the services we made. You've got to deal with these issues straightforwardly. Yeah. And I think there's been so much, distraction that we haven't been able to remember how strong we are as a country when we work together.
You don't in your op-ed, Mr.
Now, this is the exact same thing that happened to my generation. We got straddled with the debt from the first Trudeau, thanks to Eastern Canada. And this is why Western separation is at an all-time high. Those who repeat the past are condemned to repeat it. We have to stop spending money. We can't allow this socialist fascist idea that we can just spend without having generational, multi-generational consequences. My kids were still paying down Trudeau Sr.'s debt. We still haven't got that completely under control, and then you get his son comes in under the guidance of Mark Carney, who spends more in 10 years than all the prime ministers since the birth of Canada combined. This is selfish people. Oh, what am I going to get? They don't think of everybody else. They don't think of, obviously, their kids. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. People have to understand this. We can't straddle the next few generations with debt. I do not want my grandkids and my great-grandkids having to go through what we went through. We should be the wealthiest nation on earth. We shouldn't even be paying taxes. Yet here we are. More than half of everything we earn goes to taxes unnecessarily, while the rich, like Carney, hide their money in offshore bank accounts.
Campbell endorse Pierre Poilievre. You don't mention him at all, actually, but I would imagine that is your choice, is it? Why did you not mention him in your op-ed, or are you still thinking about where your support should go?
No, I'm not thinking about where my support should go. I think we should hold governments to account. Yeah. The Liberal decade was a dismal decade for Canada. Their immigration policies hurt every one of our cities. They made our housing problem worse. They made our healthcare problem worse. They made our educational problems worse. We have to hold governments to account. One person does not a government make. I wouldn't count on the federal government delivering and executing a program anytime as long as it's the same group that's been there the last 10 years. They've been incompetent, and they've led us down the wrong road. I'm not saying they weren't well-intended. Yeah. They just didn't do the job. They have to do the job, not just for me and my generation. We've been taken care of pretty well. But I'll tell you, my grandkids deserve to have a government that's thinking about them, not thinking about debt, not thinking about expediently taking care of this group or that group. How are we building the future for Canada? That's what I'm voting for, and I think that Mr. Poilievre has the platform that will get us there.
Former BC Premier Gordon Campbell, nice.
More and more and more Liberals coming out. Original Liberals, real Liberals, not the new Liberal Party, not the complete leftist, social, fascist Liberal Party we have today. Real Liberals. This is just yet another Liberal. Ex-Premier of BC. Things got to change. We have to make sure you get out there and you vote. Because it's really crucial when you go to restaurants and you see this happening. This lady was waiting for one of the customers to not finish their lunch. I'm gonna have to mute that. She got lucky. Looks like she'll have something to eat. As touching as it is, this is a major growing concern in Canada, and it's getting worse and worse. Now, moving on. The Bloc have called for a crackdown on religious hate speech after Montreal E-Man prays to slay Jews. This is from Wide Open Immigration, and they did this on purpose. They did this to cause chaos, fear, hate, and division. This is propaganda. The media hides it. Only a few, like this great organization, Western Standard, are bringing this forward and making it front page news. It's out of control in Canada. Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet is calling on Parliament to close what he describes as a dangerous loophole in the criminal code that allows hate speech to hide behind religious teachings, according to a Blacklock's reporter. Now, if you watch the debates, Blanchet brought this up. This is a major concern that Jagmeet Singh absolutely refuses to acknowledge, while he patronizes this extremist element, as well as the Palestinian movement, which again are they are an extremist movement. Because this is what they are seeing. This is Montreal. It's out of control. The number of miners marching late at night with this mob chanting for Antifada and terrorism.
There is only one solution. There is only one solution. Intifada, Intifada. Long live the Intifada. Long live the resistance. Long live the resistance. Yaman, Yaman, make us proud. Yaman, Yaman, make us proud. Yaman, Yaman.
Welcome to the new Liberal Party's post-national state. Court temporarily bans anti-Israel protest on McGill campus. Finally, but it's only temporary. McGill University was successful in obtaining a temporary court order banning highly disruptive anti-Israel protests during its exam period. Now, these kids have already missed numerous weeks of classes because of this, because of what's going on. Earlier this month, McGill University saw an eruption of large anti-Israel student strikes that saw protesters disrupting lectures, preventing students from entering their classes, and vandalizing university property. Now, this is, yes, it's blown out of proportion in the last month or two, but it's been going on since weeks after what happened in Israel. And it's just been getting progressively worse, more and more numbers, because nobody's putting their foot down. Nobody's doing their job. So then you get stuff like this still happening. Hamas supporters in Toronto blocked the entrance to the Israeli consulate and prayed for the destruction of Israel. You want more chaos? Vote Liberal. You want more debt? Vote Liberal. And then we have, of course, the Palestinian problem, which is on the other side, the western coast. Again, out of control. This is Daniel Boardman. He says, here is a moment some Palestinian goons came up to us and started making threats. As you can see, we were minding our own business at the Surrey Visaki parade when someone trying to act like security says he's going to F me up and then puts his hands on a woman. This is craziness.
You have 5 minutes to get out of here.
You're gonna kick me out?
I'll kick you out and I'll boo fuck you right now. If you're not gonna leave, get the fuck out of here. Don't cause any problems here.
I'm not causing any problems.
Yeah, you are. You won't record me.
Sir, you
don't have a right to record me.
Yes, we're on a public. Don't touch us. Don't touch us. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. It's a public space.
It doesn't matter. You guys are causing issues with this and that. For what? You guys are harassing us. For what reason?
We're not harassing. I haven't come up to you. You came up to me. They came up to me.
It doesn't matter. Why you guys are talking stuff about sex? Why? Why are you guys being racist?
We're not being racist.
Yes, you are. Clearly, everyone's saying that. They heard you guys saying fuck the sex. Why are you guys saying that?
We didn't say that.
Why are you guys saying that?
Why are you making things up?
Fuck the sex.
We're not saying that.
Yes,
no one said that.
Did.
No one said that.
Why you guys saying that?
No, you didn't.
All you guys.
Listen. He has it all on camera.
You guys said fuck the sex.
No, we didn't.
You guys.
No, we didn't.
Get out of here.
Sir, please don't harass us.
You're harassing sex. Get out of here.
We're not harassing sex.
Leave us alone. Why are you guys here?
We're leaving. You came up to me. You came up to me.
You guys are called the thief? Fucking joke.
Yeah, because you guys are threatening. Sir, be respectful. She's a lady, right? Do you really think this is Sikh values? Harassing a lady that's half your size?
Why is she recording me?
Because you're coming up to me.
Wow. And then you have this, which was posted by none other than Chandra Arya. The attacks on Hindu temples that began several years ago continue unabated today. This latest graffiti in the Hindu temple is yet another chilling reminder of the growing influence of Khalistini extremism. Well organized, well funded, and backed by a significant political clout, which I have exposed this in my 3-part series, previous episodes, and the links to Trudeau's father as well. These guys are in cahoots with China. They're using the Khalistini extremists in order to be a tool for the Chinese government in India. This is a war we shouldn't have any part of, let alone be backing or favoring any of this in our country. Again, out of control. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful complex, a beautiful temple. And they hang signs and great big pictures of the people who were responsible for downing that flight Air India. That killed hundreds of people. That Canada was responsible for, by the way. We need more people like this.
Oh, what are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Rewind that so you can see exactly what you did.
What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
This is taking too long, man. I'm gonna be late for work.
Listen, let me explain something to you. This is real life.
So
whatever you listen to me. You're not getting in here because I'm the bus driver, right? Let me tell you something.
Do your job right.
Look at her. Look at her. Look at her. Look at her.
Your job is to take us to
I didn't ask you that.
to
Look at her.
B.
Look at her. She's crying. Why are you being so mean? What if that was your mother and I did that? What if I did that to your mother? Now what? What if I pushed your mother like that? Would you like that shit?
Well, I don't have a mother. So.
All right, how about your grandmother? You don't have a grandmother either? You have a sister? All right, how about your sister? I push your sister. What's the difference? You don't talk.
You see how ignorant this guy is? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Kudos to this bus driver.
I wonder why. You don't apologize, you're not on the bus. Your choice. You either apologize or you can walk.
It's okay.
No, it's not okay, ma'am.
Today it's okay.
You can either apologize or you can walk. Two things. Apologize, walk. What do you want to do?
Apologize for what, dude?
For pushing her.
I didn't push.
And then we have, at the end, I'm going to try and do this more and more, just as a little bit of an uplift. I'm going to call this the liberal fox and the conservative goose. Well, you guys, I'm going to call that an episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I could fill you in on a lot of what's going on. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We cannot allow this liberal government to get voted in. We need to show all those people who are brainwashed exactly what's going on in Canada and what's going to become of us if these guys get a fourth term. Carney is worse than Trudeau. And like I showed you earlier, this whole budget, it was already pre-planned before Carney even said he was going to be PM. This is the reality. Nothing's changed. It's the same party. They want to bankrupt us so they can make themselves piles of cash. We can't allow that to happen. Anyways, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you are, punch that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Until the next time, I'm Alias to Guy. You've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. Stay informed.